The silence of God. You pray, you wait, but nothing. You stare at the ceiling in the dark, eyes wide. The silence is heavy, almost alive. You hope for a sign, a voice, a thrill, anything. Something that tells you, I'm listening to you, I am here. This is what you have to do. But there is nothing. Nothing. Except this overwhelming absence, this emptiness that stretches in the soul. Yet you continue. You make the invocations. You cry sometimes without noise, without tears. You say, talk to me, Ya Allah. Tell me what you want from me. But there is no thunder, no light in the clouds, not even a clear dream. Just this painful feeling of speaking to a closed sky. The silence of God. This is perhaps the greatest test for a believing soul. You think you're abandoned. You think your heart has become deaf. You believe that you are no longer worthy of guidance. But if you looked closer, you would see that this silence is not empty. It's loaded. Loaded with patience, loaded with wisdom, loaded with disguised responses. It's a silence that pushes you to dig into yourself, to listen differently, not with your ears, but with your life. What if this silence was already an answer? What if God said to you, you don't need more words, you need confidence, you need to continue? What if His silence was His call to the maturity of your soul? Sometimes God doesn't answer because He has already answered you. But you weren't ready to hear, or you didn't like the answer, so you pretended not to understand. You looked for something else, again and again, until you get lost in your own echoes. God's silence is not a rejection, it's a showcase. It is in this apparent void that true faith is born. The one that does not depend on a miracle, but on a silent conviction. The one that is built in constancy, in solitude, in the absence of sensation. He educates you in silence. He teaches you to walk without seeing, to love without proof, to continue without response. And every day you choose to remain faithful, even in a vacuum, even without feeling His presence. You become closer to Him than you imagine. So no, you have not been forgotten. You are being shaped. And maybe silence is the purest form of His word. The voice you don't hear. You say you don't hear it, that you don't know what He expects of you, that you pray, that you ask, but there is no answer. You believe that God is silent, but is it really He who is silent? Or is it you who no longer listen? There are voices that never shout. Voices that pass through a glance in the street, through the fatigue of a parent, through the discreet smile of a stranger. God speaks, all the time, but not in the way you expect. You want shards, certainties, heavenly voices. You want the sky to open and dictate a clear mission to you. But He speaks in the hollows of your life. It reaches you through fleeting sensations, intuitions that you brush aside, ideas that come back over and over but which you ignore, because they do not fit into your plan. He speaks to you through the people you meet every day. In these tips that bothered you, in these strange coincidences that you never took the time to meditate on. He speaks to you in the embarrassment you feel when you do what you know is wrong, in the deep relief that comes over you when you do what you know is right. But your heart is too loud. You're making so much noise inside. Fears, doubts, desires, overlapping thoughts. You want to hear God, but you are never truly in silence. You want Him to speak to you, but you never silence the rest. You want a clear answer, but you never pay enough attention to the little things. The voice of God does not come to cover your chaos. She waits until you make enough room for her to reach you. What if this little persistent idea that you've been pushing away for months was Him? What if this person you meet again and again was a lesson sent from heaven? What if your current discomfort, this feeling that you don't belong, was a signal that you refuse to decode? You want to hear God, but are you ready to recognize Him in the ordinary, discreet, in the mundane? God is in the details. It is in what you experience, not just in what you hope for. He does not whisper because He is far away.
He whispers because he is near. When you wait for a sign, you say, I want a sign, just one, to be sure, to find out. You want lightning in the sky, dreams clear as water, a voice that breaks the silence of your room. You want destiny to manifest itself clearly, for doubt to be erased with a single divine gesture. You want God to speak as in ancient stories, with visible miracles, startling revelations. But that's not how he speaks to you, not this time. God prefers whispers, simple gestures, things that go unnoticed by those who wait too long. Do you want a miracle? Look at your heart beating despite everything. Look how you are still here, alive, thinking, searching for meaning. Do you want a sign? You are one. You exist. You are looking. You hang on. And that's already extraordinary. But your waiting blinds you. You have fixed your eyes so much on the sky that you have not seen what grows at your feet. You waited so long for a powerful voice that you forgot to listen to the sighs of your soul. You wanted an answer in capital letters, but God wrote to you gently, between the lines of your life. You want direction, but you're treading water. Because you refuse to move forward without proof. You refuse to move without guarantee. You're afraid of making a mistake, so you don't act. And yet, God has spoken to you 1,000 times, but you didn't recognize him, or you didn't want to hear what he was telling you. You want a spectacular sign. But God wants you to open your eyes to what is essential. He forms you through waiting, purifies you through silence, elevates you through the invisible. He hides his signs in things that only patient hearts can perceive. You scan the sky, but the light is already within you. It is in your silent intuitions. It's in this idea that keeps coming back. It's in that deep peace you feel when you think about a certain path. It is in the discomfort you experience when you move away from it. You say, I received nothing. But what if God had already given you exactly what you needed to hear, and you were just waiting for a more spectacular version? He doesn't want you to be impressed. He wants you to pay attention. For it is not in thunder that guidance comes. It's in the silence, in the constancy, in this step that you take even when you have no certainty, in this prayer that you pray without feeling, in this fidelity, even in emptiness. And one day, without warning, you will realize that you have been walking in his signs all along. What God has already shown you. You keep asking, Ya Allah, what do you want me to do? Show me the way, give me a sign, guide me. But before you look to the future, look at your past. Go back, not to lock yourself in it, but to read there what you never understood. Every fall you experienced was not a coincidence. Every closed door, every failure, every brutal no, every delay, every pain, none of that was there to bring you down. It was a direction, an answer. You think God hasn't answered you, but he has already done it, in his way. He answered you over time, with people, with silences that took on meaning later. He showed you, taught you, shaped you. You may have forgotten, but remember this opportunity that escaped you, to lead you to a better one. Remember this person whom you thought was indispensable, but whose distance made room for your reconstruction. Remember all those times you thought it was the end, but it was the beginning. You ask what to do, even though you already know what makes you tick. You know this thing that has always been inside you. This domain, this cause, this buried dream, this direction that calls you again and again, even after failure, even after abandonment. This is not an illusion. It's not a whim. Maybe that's exactly your calling, but you want something else. You want something safer, more solid, more comfortable. You want security where God offers you a mission. You want ease where God wants to build your faith. And yet, if you reread your story with the eyes of wisdom, you will see. You will see that nothing happened by chance. You will see that the pieces of the puzzle were already starting to come together. You will see that your deepest pains have planted the seeds of your calling. God teaches you through experience. He let you live so that you would understand. He let you down so you could get up differently. He let you love, lose, hope, fail, so you could become someone ready, responsive, ready to move forward, ready to say yes. What you experienced was not a detour. It was the training. It's not that you don't have an answer. It's because you refuse to believe that the answer is that simple, that familiar, that intimate. God will not send you another message until you take seriously the one He has already given you. You're looking for the next step, but have you assumed the precedent? You want a new road, but have you honored the one who has been in front of you for years? You want Him to speak, but have you acted on what He has already said? This is not a lack of response. It's a lack of recognition. What if, instead of asking again, you started to reread what you already know? What if, instead of doubting again, you decided to believe that God does not repeat Himself unnecessarily? What He showed you was already clear. Now He waits. The task you refuse to see. You keep saying, I don't know what to do. I'm still looking. I haven't found my way. But the truth is, you know. Your heart knows it. For a long time. It's not the lack of direction that stops you from moving forward. It's fear. You know what you should do, but you were hoping God would tell you something else. Something simpler, less risky, more consistent with what you want, instead of what you're supposed to become. Because what God has put in your heart is too big for your comfort zone, too demanding for your ego, too uncomfortable for your pride. You asked for a mission, but you refuse the one you feel. You want to be guided, but not in this direction. You want a tailor-made mission, without pain, without struggle, without transformation. But that's not how God works. The calling you are fleeing is precisely the mission God has entrusted to you. And you know it. Every time you get closer, your heart beats harder, your soul lights up. But every time you get close too, your fear holds you back. She follows you with what if, with excuses, with delays disguised as logic. And yet, despite everything, you still think about it. Because the divine call does not fade. He returns in your silences. It catches up with you in your nights. It exhausts you in your detours. You try to forget. But forgetting does not erase what was entrusted to you. You don't need a new revelation. You need courage. The courage to obey. The courage to face what you refuse to face. The courage to say yes, even if you're trembling. The courage to start, even without being ready. The courage to believe that if God has put this fire in your heart, it is because He will give you the means to carry it. He doesn't call you to do what you already know how to do. He calls you to become what you never dared to be. You want clear answers. But God tells you, I've already given you direction. Now move forward, even with fear, even with the uncertainty. Because it is in movement that clarity is born. It is by walking that the path opens. And it is by obeying that you will become capable. So stop running away from what you've always felt. This is no coincidence. This is not an illusion. It's your call. The real question is not, what does God expect of me? But rather, will I finally answer what He has already whispered to me so many times? You don't need a new sign. You need to dare to say, here I am. And now, obey. You waited. You questioned. You scrutinized the signs, analyzed the silences, cried in prayers, searched in books, listened to 1,000 pieces of advice. And now, you know.
It may not be a clear certainty in your head, but it is a calm conviction in your heart. You received your call. It's simple, deep, silent. He didn't make a sound, but He moved everything inside you. He did not impose Himself with violence, but He remained always. It's not a choice you found. This is a truth that you recognized. And now there is only one thing left for you, to obey. Obedience. Not that of automatic gestures, not that of fear, but obedience of the free heart, the obedience of the awakened soul, obedience to what God has placed in you. Obedience is not waiting to feel the urge. It's not about having all the answers. It's not being sure of yourself. Obedience is getting up, even when everything inside you is still shaking. It's saying yes, even when your ego screams no. It's about trusting. Even when you don't yet see the end of the road, you want to understand in order to move forward. But God tells you, move on and you will understand. You want guarantees before saying yes. But God asks you for faith before clarity. The call you feel, it is not a passing thought. It's a responsibility. It is a divine seed planted in you and which you must now water through action. Because obedience is not a feeling. It's a movement towards what you are meant to become. Not what is comfortable, not what's popular, not what is applauded, but what God has planned for you, what transforms you, what bothers you, what purifies you. And what you feel today is not a coincidence. It's the fruit of everything you've been through. Whatever God has orchestrated to bring you to this moment, here, now. He did not guide you to stop in the face of fear. He didn't wake you up to go back to sleep. He didn't call you to keep you hesitant. He guided you to move forward so that you assume, so that you obey, and you will see. Each step taken in obedience will open a new door. Every step in His direction will break down a barrier in you. Every movement toward your calling will heal a part of your soul. That's not what you want to do. This is what you're supposed to become. And that's where true peace begins.